Okay, so I wanted to talk today about something very interesting that came up, and it has to do with and I just this thing just kind of clicked in my mind. I was watching some things and um how these kind of synchronous things keep coming about, and it involved this this series of books that were written. I think they're like right on the late 1800s by an author named Ingersoll Lockwood, and it's one of them was The Last President, and I read a PDF version of that, and then one of the other ones is like Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, um, and it's interesting, it's topical, right? And so it kind of it was interesting because I know that there's a character in the Baron Trump book that's named Don Fum, and I found it interesting because when I did a quick search, there was an article in quarter three of 2016. So this is right around the time of the election when Trump was elected the first time, and it was a report about feed, animal feed, and how there was the two most common um, toxins that were found in them in this quarter three report in 2016, and there were two that were the most common. There was um, I can't pronounce the names. I'm no scientist, but the abbreviations are DON and FUM, Don and FUM, the two most common that in that report. So it's pretty synchronous. I know during that time, that's when the time that the Ingersoll Lockwood books had come into the public consciousness. Like people were talking about them at the time. Um, you know, like Baron Trump. I mean, it's a different spelling of it. I think one has two R's and one has one R. Anyway, but Baron Trump, and about Donald Trump being, in office, and then there was a character named Pence in The Last President. And during this last run for president, Trump, in one of his speeches, he was giving somewhere. He was basically saying like urging like specifically Christians to vote, and that if they vote for him, then they will never have to vote again, which is intimating that like you vote every 4 years, and for so many years now in the United States. So why wouldn't you have to vote again? Which intimates that, hey, this the last president, right? So anyway, there's all these synchronicities, and I was thinking about it, and there was kind of like this like thought exercise I kind of went through, and it has to do with um, memory and its role in creating reality. And this is to each individual person, of course. Each person's reality. Um, so I kind of went into this thing where I thought about it, and I said, well, you know, did these books even exist? In a time when they say they did. Um, and it kind of doesn't even really matter at this point because, like, I liken it to like this, right? Like, let's say I ask you where you were on New Year's Eve, um, in 2020, New Year's Eve of 2024, 2023, or 2022, and you might be able to, off the top of your head, say, oh, I was here, I was doing this. You might even say, oh, I was at a party with this person, this person, this person. But if I asked you, what'd you have for dinner, 4 Tuesdays ago, Unless you're the type of person that has the same meal every night for dinner or every Tuesday for dinner, um, are you going to remember 4 or 5 Tuesdays ago what you specifically had for dinner, right? Um, I mean, I know I don't, necessarily. I mean, if I go back and I look at the calendar and I say, okay, where was I this day? Try to put it back together. I might remember what I had for dinner, but off the top of my head, it's not something that I even, I even care to remember. But then again, does that mean that, you know, I didn't eat dinner, on that day? Does it mean I didn't exist at the time, 5 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago on a Tuesday? What makes my experience here real? And it comes down to this: is that how do I know, I was alive 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, and living where I'm living or wherever I was at the time, whether it was on my trip to Seattle or whatever it was. But the fact of the matter is, how do I know? Well, I have receipts of things that I rode the rail, or I had a plane ticket or whatever. But also, the fact is, hey, I remember doing things I did. I remember taking a plane trip. I remember getting the plane getting struck by lightning. I remember all these things, and the memory is the thing that really keeps it to where it maintains the reality to where I am. So that, in other words, like, let's say there was some way where you had your memory wiped and you woke up in your where you live, and you could speak English, you could get up, you could walk, but you didn't remember any of the days of your life. you know um how does that change your reality? You look around, you say there wasn't any mirrors, would you even recognize pictures of yourself that would be around the house, your friends or whatever? So in that way, like, what role does memory play in your reality? And I go back and I look at, again, like those series of books by Lockwood, um, where we are now. You know, First of all, I want to say, I think that, I just speaking for myself, is that I feel like I'm a point of consciousness. I'm a part of, something that was here before this body was, you know, created, and I'll exist in some way, my spirit, whatever you want to call it, after this body is gone, expired. Um, However, um, I don't have any memory of anything before, I was a very small child here in this place, and so, working with that, there is some type of memory wipe, whatever you want to call it, where you don't recall anything before that. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, if you take something like a let's say like a dark city, where every night when people sleep, you know, or they get stopped wherever they are in their tracks, their memories get altered so that they're living a slightly different life or wildly different life. Um, and combine that with the concept of, like, the movie Groundhog Day. I mean, if you had some type of computer program that was executing into this place like a video game, it could implant any material things here that it needed to, so that and then if the people's memories are altered, then it wouldn't matter if it existed or not. You see what I'm saying? Like, in other words, like, if those Lockwood books didn't exist before 2016, you know, then it goes into almost like a Mandela effect, because the books could be created and they could be placed into the reality, and then the memories could be implanted to the people, so that you could even come to the point where you could even say, oh no, hey, I owned a copy of this book since 1982. And then those memories would be implanted in your mind, and the book would be wherever it was on your bookshelf, or wherever it would be. you know, how would you know? You're only going to depend on your memory to tell you that, and then other clues, like I said, like let's say you had a receipt for the book from a certain store, you know, but all these things, if they can be created, um, and then placed into this place where we are now, and then our memories can be affected to that point, then then it really doesn't matter, because then heck, we could be living the same day over and over and over while we're here. I mean, if you have the simulation theory, if it is some type of simulation, and we agree to come into these bodies here for X amount of time, we might be living the same day over and over. And how would you know that you weren't? You know, you could say, well, I remember, the last every birthday I had for the last 20, 30, 40 years. But then those are just memories, right? Like you could remember up until yesterday, but then what if today just kept going over and over and over, and at the start of the next day, everything just reset, so that you wouldn't remember what happened today, and you have those memories that are planted in your mind from all that time before, and then you just restarted the day, like Bill Murray's character did in Groundhog Day. Everyone else in the town, to them, the day was starting as if it was normal. He was the only one that we saw on the screen that was aware that, hey, I lived this day before, and he can do all these different things that he didn't do. He can save the kid falling from the tree. He can, figure out a different way to try to blow off the insurance salesman, or, get to know Andy McDowell better, have her, like him. You know, it in the movie, it seems like he's been at it for years, to the point where the movie concludes, where he becomes a concert level pianist. He learns all these different foreign languages. And knowing all the things that are going to happen in the town on that day, he can start to keep a schedule where he can do all these things and be all things to all people, because of his experiences, doing the day over and over and over. And like I said, if it is some type of simulation, perhaps it's just to that end where people just keep being put back into the same day. And what are they going to do if they don't remember that day? Are they going to do the same thing that they did over and over and over? Are they going to choose to do different things? Who's to say? But to that end, it's almost like the same thing with the Mandela effect. Like I said, like if it's the same thing, right? Like it could be, I remember it being Berenstain Bears with an E. And, I don't have a copy of the books, but, that's the thing, right? Maybe it was. And at some point, maybe things got changed. It was reintroduced into the into the field we're living in, and maybe some people's memories are updated so that they remember it as AIN, and every piece of material you pick up when you look at the books, it's the AIN ending to the title. Um, but if your brain wasn't updated with those memories, then you're not going to have that memory. It's going to be something different, right? So that at the end of the day, your memory is the only real thing that keeps this reality as you know it for being who you are, you know um, so that at some point where people talk about resets, you know um, you know this thing about mud floods, or any number of things that get talked about a lot. And yes, it's true that perhaps there were these cataclysmic events in parts of the world, or far-reaching parts of the world, that you point at and you look at certain things, and like I said, like a lot of these old buildings in these downtown areas, where they have similar things in common, where it would seem that it's possible from the what we see, that something could have happened in the past, such as a mud flood or whatever you want to call it. But the only really important thing to do, if you had the power to do it, like some type of AI or some kind of program that was running this whole place, is just, if you can affect the people's memories, then you can reset the whole thing in a heartbeat. It could be done, like I said, it could be done every periodically. It could be done every single day. The thing could be reset. If you're able to affect the people's memories, you could you could have people wake up tomorrow, change the date on the calendar as far as the year. I mean, heck, we have at least, off the top of my head, I know the Chinese calendar. Um, there's a couple of different ones I know that are the year is not 2025, like how we have in the Western world. So, you know, we could wake up tomorrow and it could be a different timeline, quote unquote, um, without even changing anything. But a lot of things could be changed just right off the top. You could wake up tomorrow with no technology, and all of a sudden these things just be taken out of the system. Let's say, right? Let's say it is some type of simulation that could be controlled by AI or whatever it is. Um, Even an almighty creator, if they have the power to create, I'm sure would have the power to pull all these things out, right? All your technology, all your belongings, whatever it is. You wake up tomorrow morning, you're in an old world building, or you wake up in a cave or whatever it is, and there's no technology, and then your memory is taken to a point where there are different memories, right? Now, let's say, for example, you have memories of, you lived in this old world building and you whatever, and then, this is the date, you know, so there's nothing to prevent that, if there is this power and this power to do that in people. So, I guess in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Um, but it's just an interesting thought, exercise of thought to, about memory and our own living memory, and, you know, how it creates our reality. And, but I don't think that it is that way. Um, I know there is something going on here that, we're here, I'm convinced this is not all there is for us. We're not born and we die and then that's it for us. There's no going on for the consciousness. Um, so I guess as we live, I guess my thing as always is, um, try to hold on to that spiritual side, of yourself, and, live accordingly, right? Like, again, don't hurt other people, you know, um, do your best to show love, treat people with respect, and, take care of the things that are close to you, like all these things that you see on screens, you know, they're not in your reality, right? I mean, so at any rate, that's about all I want to say, and went a little long on this one, but I guess that's it for now, and I'll talk later. Thanks.